everybody, and welcome to another episode of Nerd Age. This is the show where we talk about everything nerdy. My name is Mick, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Josh.
What's up?
Corey.
Hello.
And Jonah.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, guys. If you like what you see here, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, sharing, and liking the video. And yeah, with that being said, we're going to get started here. We're probably going to jump into some Oppenheimer, non-spoiler, and then go into a spoiler review as usual. So here's your spoiler warning for that. With that being said, Jonah, you want to kick us off?
Sure. We all went and watched it together. Opening night.
Although we didn't sit next to each other.
Yeah. Corey was pretty close.
We were right behind you. That was crazy.
Yeah, we went to IMAX on a Thursday night, 9 o'clock, so nice and late.
Fake IMAX.
Yeah, fake IMAX, not the real one.
But still really good.
I mean, I really like this movie. I think we're all going to probably say the same thing, so I'll just say it and you guys can just say ditto. I mean, acting was great, music was great, sound design was great. This movie is a lot of conversations, but the way they use the music and the way it's filmed, it's really entertaining, and it just keeps you kind of on the edge of your seat. It's just, the writing's really good. For me, there wasn't really a moment where it kind of slowed down. It just, for 3 hours, it flew by. And again, like I said, it's not like there's action scenes or anything like that. It's just mainly conversations, going from color to black and white, depending on the person's perspective. Like, so I just think this is one of Nolan's best movies. I still don't know where it ranks on my list. I have to watch it again. But after watching it, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. And I've been listening to the soundtrack over and over again. It's just really good. I have a few complaints that we'll do in spoilers, but they're pretty minor. But I just thought this movie was really good. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Nolan definitely has a way of filming two people talking and it not being boring.
Yeah.
Even if they're talking about like quantum mechanics and mathematical equations that are just way beyond probably most of the audience. It's really easy to just feel engaged with it. And I think it has a lot to do with just literally the way he shoots it, the music that he puts with it. The actors are just doing such a phenomenal job at just bringing you into this world. And Cillian Murphy, I think he gave, like, I think an Oscar performance.
This movie should have been called Oppenheimer Quantumanium instead of the Ant-Man one.
As long as MODOK shows up,
I was going to say like Oscarheimer or something like that. Like something smart.
That was funny.
But yeah, pretty much what you said. It's really, really good. Part of the movie was a little bit slow for me, but I don't know if that's just because it was so late at night that I was just getting really tired. So I'll definitely watch it again and have another crack at it. So, but yeah, no one knows what he's doing. It's just so awesome seeing everything shot in camera too. Yeah, I mean when the world right now is just filled with movies that just overuse, in my opinion, CGI. Yeah, it's so just great to see like tangible places that they are shooting at, and then visual effects still that are all real. It definitely has a different feel to it in terms of modern movies. So yeah, really, really good movie.
Josh, you hated it.
It's gotta be me. Yeah,
you hated it, huh?
Not as good as Ant-Man. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Definitely not as good. No, dang. I mean,
it's like a 3
for me. It's the same thing. I really enjoyed it. It did get a little slow for me towards the end, I feel like. But everything up until then, I was like, it didn't feel like 3 hours. I don't know if it was where the story went. I wasn't expecting it, so maybe I got a little like, oh, we're doing this now, kind of a thing. So I don't know what it was. But that being said, I still really enjoyed everything. The writing's really well. It's really well done. All the performances are incredible. Like, there's not a single person where you're like, sometimes in a movie you can like look at a person and you're like, that guy wasn't really up to it that day. But literally everyone's like on top of it. This cast is ridiculous. There's even a couple people that I was like, he's in this movie? Like, okay. All right, we're doing that. But yeah, so really great. I think for me, the highlight was
the performances, I think Cillian Murphy really does really good. Robert Downey, he killed it. Robert Downey Jr.
Oscarheimer.
Robert Downey Jr. also a really good performance. But yeah, like top to bottom, every single actor does amazing in it. The writing's really good, and the soundtrack is amazing for me. That's the I think the biggest highlight for me. Like just a couple of minutes in, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna like this score. It's really good, and yeah, it drives the dialogue. It's always present. It doesn't overwhelm anything. I feel like sometimes sound design in Christopher Nolan movies can sometimes overwhelm the dialogue, which I was able to understand everything they said, which good job, Chris. You've improved. Good job. You needed a little improvement.
I mean, I think he rode the line in some lines, but it was understandable. So that's good.
But yeah, really good movie. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. C-Dog.
I think the coming into it, I think I was expecting it to be difficult to hold my attention for 3 hours because, well, it's, just a story about a guy, who invented the atom bomb, and we knew that, and we know the end of it, right? We know the story. So I was expecting, it's going to be slow for me. But yeah, the writing specifically, I think if you're able to write a story where there's, little to no action, there's really no action except for a bomb exploding. Eventually,
the biggest bomb.
Spoiler alert.
That's in the trailer.
Yeah, and you all know it's coming.
Right? We all know the story, but I think that was the interesting part where the story wasn't so straightforward that you're like, yeah, let's get past this. I know what's going to happen next. It was like, oh, whoa, there's a lot more mental challenge to like track the story, not in a bad way, but like in an interesting way. Like your mind is like enjoying the trip, I guess, that he's taking us on, that journey. And it's very eye-opening to kind of see how much you can understand a man by not just his words, but also sound design. The sound design was incredible to the point where you feel how he felt, or at least how Christopher Nolan wants you to feel through sound design.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's just like super cool. It's something that I wouldn't really think of too much, but like there is intense sequences that kind of just evoke really strong emotions in certain moments in this movie. And I think that is a huge spotlight in this one. And so, yeah, really that was my biggest thing. Was the writing was just insane. For something that I thought was going to be boring.
Yeah.
So, wow. Kudos to them. Did he write it? Or did someone else write it? Or was
he co-wrote it with someone.
Co-wrote it with someone?
I thought it was just him that wrote it.
I thought he had someone else on there.
But yeah.
I think an interesting aspect that you bring up is that it's not a straightforward, typical Nolan.
Yeah.
It's not just a straightforward, like, this is the beginning, you get to the end. There's multiple timelines intertwined, so you have to kind of figure out when's this taking place, or from someone's different perspective. So,
and not in like a frustrating or confusing way. It was actually quite clear.
You get it pretty easy.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of that kept you entertained to be like, oh, we're jumping back and forth, or we're seeing a scene from one person's perspective, and then later on we see that same scene.
Yeah.
From the different perspective. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
And like you said, it kind of enhances for people that are like, oh, what's this movie about? It's going to be boring. It kind of gave it something fresh. And that's what I like about Nolan is he really thinks about those kind of things,
Well, and he also like respects you. Like he's like, you'll be able to at least understand this to 80%, at least.
Yeah.
And maybe this will encourage you to watch it again to really get it down. Like think about how complicated and like mind explosion Tenet was, you know what I mean? Like, what?
Yeah.
How did that work? But this one wasn't as intense. This is just like different perspectives.
Yeah.
And this is historical too, So I thought it was really interesting for that kind of a movie.
The only negatives I have, and these aren't really spoilers because we're not going to talk about.
No spoilers. Okay, good.
But there's 2 sex scenes.
Yeah, they did say that.
A sex scene and a half I guess.
Yeah.
In this movie, and
I mean,
it has nudity in it.
There's nudity. That's the thing.
And that's probably my two negatives. I get why he put it in there in context of the story. And we'll talk about it in spoilers more. But I understand why those needed to be in there. I just felt like it didn't need to be as explicit. And so that's the only negatives I have about this movie. If it weren't for those things, I might give my first. I might give it a 10. That might be my first 10. Those scenes, like I said, I know why they're in there. I get it, and I actually thought they were an interesting way for him to show that kind of stuff. We'll talk about in spoilers, but I just think
I'm gonna fight you on this.
I just think the nudity was too much. It didn't have to be there.
Absolutely.
That's my only negative. So if you're gonna go watch it and you don't, you're not prepared for that, be prepared. They're short. It's like maybe a minute and a half out of a 3-hour movie.
It felt longer, man. It felt like
this is what I'll say. That's my complaint about the movie too. It's
Same.
like I get what you're doing narratively, but you don't need to have nudity in there to get the point across. You know what I mean? Also, you can say it's a minute and a half, but go ahead and just count out a minute and a half right now.
Bro, it's forever.
It's a long time. And it's not just like quick and like, a minute and a half. It's like they're having a conversation and you're like, okay, you're just
framed up.
You're just
the whole
sitting
time.
here framed.
I blame it on the IMAX.
Gosh,
On another movie,
the other aspect ratio.
Aspect ratio. But anyway, So that's my complaint as well. It's like, I don't think it's necessary. I get you can get that point across in other ways.
Yeah.
0 out of 10 for me because of that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nolan.
Do you want to just basically do our rating anyways and then go into spoilers?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sure.
I'll start. Because of those two things, I've really thought about this, guys.
Okay.
I'm going to give this movie a 9.7.
Wow.
Okay. I can commit to a score. I think because of and this isn't even like, I think that there are some weaker points, as far as story. It got a little too, it's like they covered the same thing multiple times. And I was like, I already got that. I understood that. So there's a little bit of repetition on some of the things where I was like, maybe we didn't need as much coverage on that plot point. And then the nudity. So they're going to lose some marks for that. I think, and this movie isn't really like my typical cup of tea.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't receive, downvotes for that. Like, I think I'm going to keep it over a 9. I think it sits pretty at like a 9.2 for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Really good movie. And it's long. It's a long movie. And for that, I didn't feel like it dragged on too much for me. What about you, Josh?
Again, nudity marks you down. Sorry, Nolan.
2 point.
No, I mean, everything else about this movie, I really enjoyed. Even though I do feel it dragged a little bit, like maybe it was because it was late, Mick. Yeah. I agree. Maybe it was like,
yeah, we did see this at 9 p.m. So
3-hour movies.
And it starts late.
Starts like at 9:30 because of that freaking all the trailers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think a 9.5 for me.
Yeah.
It's just really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a solid 9 Professor Poisoned Apples right now.
Okay.
On a second watch, it will probably go up. That's what happened with the last few Nolan.
I mean, it's really good. Like, a 9 is an incredible score.
Yeah.
Like, this is really good.
Yeah, no, it's definitely.
And if we were cool with nudity, it might be higher. But since we're not,
might be a perfect movie. Not on this podcast.
Not on this podcast.
Not today, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah,
this is for
good
kids.
try.
This is not rated M for mature. This is rated E for everyone.
So that's it for the non-spoiler review. Let's go ahead and delve into some spoilers. So if you guys want to go watch the movie, go for it. But yeah, let's delve into some of the nitty-gritty of this movie. What parts? Okay, so I guess we'll just get it out of the way. So nudity. So they're trying to express the fact that he is a womanizer and that there's a more complicated story with him as far as relationships and kind of how, like, he has like 3 different relationships. Yeah,
he was a womanizer.
He's a womanizer, and he's a mess, right? And that's the whole idea, right? And so I think that the first part where they show stuff going on
without having sex.
Well, we don't have to say the S word,
bro. E for everyone.
I think something like that was maybe necessary. Maybe. I don't know if you have to show it that way. But establishing that relationship and kind of how maybe toxic in how it came up and also how it goes forward. I think that was important to show, not the sex part, but the toxicity and the kind of like innate attraction, I guess, to kind of just show what he's fighting against.
Yeah. Well, there's this whole thing where he's seeing her and he always takes her flowers and she always just throws them away, right? She's like, don't bring me flowers.
Right.
It's more of just like that, the sexual aspect of it.
Right.
And so you're right. Like that's what he's getting at. I do agree. It was kind of like, the nudity was just, you didn't need to see it. And so like, again, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a super long scene. But it is kind of like...
Yeah, but aren't we all kind of... Well, I don't know. At least I am. I think I'm under the idea of... I don't think you ever really need to do full-blown stuff like that. No. I think that you can always kind of just hint to it, and that gets the point across for me.
And some people were saying that Nolan said he wanted it to be a rated R. So,
so he
kind of did that so that it was rated R. Because there's not really... There's like 2 F-bombs in the movie.
I think there's more than that.
There's a couple.
Matt Damon says once, and then that someone else says.
No idea.
But I just think that wasn't going to get it based on language. So he was going for the rated R, which is a weird thing.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm
sure if you asked him, he would say, "Oh, it's because of the womanizing aspect that he really wanted to drive home, and he wanted you to feel it."
The second one makes more sense to me than the first one. Because the second one is from Kitty's perspective. So she's imagining it when they're in the...
like where they're sitting down.
When they're
talking.
Interrogation room.
And so this whole thing is she's embarrassed because she finds out about the affair and she's embarrassed. And now these complete strangers have all his information. It's none of their business. And she's reliving that embarrassment now in front of all these people. Not only was it
it's also part of the public record.
Right. And so I get that shot and how that was done. The conversation they're having and she's topless again was like, you don't need to, because even at some point it just focuses on her face. So you're not even seeing anything. So I was like, you could have just done that. Get the idea that they're nude.
Right. You could show some leg or something and then pan up.
So those scenes were the ones that I get why, especially that one in the courtroom or when they're talking, I get what he was trying to convey with it, but the nudity was unnecessary for me.
Yeah. But as far as like, the story, the plot, how did you guys feel about how it kind of started out and how it kind of finished? Did you guys feel like it lost its way? Do you think it was like really like straight and narrow? How did you guys feel about the plot?
I think the movie did an excellent job at focusing on his life and making the movie really about him. I think you can go back and probably watch some of the trailers and maybe I think it happened to me where I felt mismarketed when I watched the movie, where I felt like the marketing was really pushing like the bomb. It's going to be like the thing in the movie, which it was a cool scene and everything, but really that moment was about how Oppenheimer was feeling,
right?
And like what he just created, basically. Like when you watch that scene, I think what really you take away from it is like the expression on his face when they're seeing the explosion and just the emotion that he's showing through that. So, I think the movie does a great job at just really basically being a first person perspective from him, and as well as Robert Downey Jr.'s character.
Yeah.
which I don't think we really talked about him yet, but he was amazing in it.
Oscar Downey Jr.
There we go.
That's more like it.
What you're saying,
like it.
the thing that's I think is amazing about this movie is you get kind of the opposite of what you get in some movies, where it's like you start with a character that's like doesn't have it together, and by the end of the movie they're like have it together. It's the opposite for this. Like Oppenheimer starts out as like he's the young smart guy, womanizer, like when no,
he's got it all together, baby.
No, but I'm just saying like he swapped, like people love him, like he's got everything. When Matt Damon's character comes and talks to him, like the way he convinces him to use, like it's incredible. And then what ends up happening is he gets more and more involved in this. Mm-hmm. He starts to unravel, and you start seeing more of like he's starting to question everything. And at the end of the movie, how it ends leaves you with like, yeah, he kind of feels like he screwed everything up kind of thing. So I just like that trajectory from a guy that was like early on in the movie seemed to have it all together. He was like the up and coming smart guy, like Einstein's, he's in the past, I got this, right? And then more and more throughout the trial and all that kind of stuff, he just becomes kind of a shell of who he is. And I really liked how they did that. The consequences of what it means to have like your conscience and all this other stuff going on. What I like too is the aspect of, he talks about the destroyer of worlds. I'm the destroyer of worlds. And I think there's a way, I think Nolan was really smart in using that term, because on the surface you can think about as, oh yeah, well, he created the atom bomb. And yeah, now the destruction of these bombs is on him, but I think there's more to it. I think he's the destroyer of worlds personally, because the girl commits suicide, right? After, like he basically destroyed her life with that whole aspect, that scene where he talks about him getting Kitty pregnant. Like that's a great scene. And she's like, you're so smart. Why are you so dumb? Like that was just a stupid thing. He basically destroys Kitty's life, right? With his affairs and then all that kind of stuff that's going on. So I just think there's an aspect of, it's not only just on the massive level that we think, oh, like the bomb, it's more on the personal aspect of like, he destroyed people's lives in his personal life. Right. So I just thought that was a really interesting
little dichotomy.
How that kind of worked.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, yeah, I think that not only by his choices and what we saw happen in the story, it was like also twofold. It was like a mitt and a glove. It was like, or a ball and a glove. It was like also the sound design pushed every key scene to that fullest potential where you feel how he's feeling. Like, one of my favorite scenes is the one in the gym where they're like, oh, we did it. Yeah. Oh, we did it. And then it was this crazy like effect he was doing with like the lens focus and stuff and the sound design that just made you feel like his world, your world, because you're feeling the same stuff, is being rocked, and you're realizing what happened and you're realizing the effect. And then they throw all these little like flashes of scenes and screams, even though they're cheering. Then you see him cry. But then they're hooray, like it was crazy. Like that was the best scene. That scene was so beautiful in a way, artistically
and haunting.
Super haunting.
Yes,
because then it finishes with, burnt bodies, and the reality of it, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like
yeah.
It was an experience, and I think that's what Christopher Nolan does so well.
I feel like he did a really good job of like almost capturing how he's feeling, not only in that moment, but also like when they're talking about, quantum mechanics and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh, can you hear the music, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And how they would cut to like the, whatever it is, the particles going around and just like the sound design with that. It was like really well done to kind of get a glimpse in like in an impossible way, right? Of like, how do you look into this genius mind that's like imagining things that they had no idea existed. So I think it's a really well done thing. And then, in that scene where, that you talked about, I agree. It's like he's saying all these things to like with bravado of like, I wish we had one. I wish we would have finished it earlier so we could drop one on the Germans, you know. And it's like just the way it shakes and like it's muted and they're cheering and it's just like you just feel like, oh man, like it's so uncomfortable and you can just feel how he feels. And he's like saying these things just because he's like, this is what I'm supposed to say.
He acted so well because it felt like someone was speaking through him. Yeah. And it wasn't him anymore because it was what the crowd wanted to hear. Yeah. And you felt that. You could hear it.
And how it would go from him saying that and then it would show his face and he's like, looking around. It's just that scene. There are certain scenes, even in this movie, that we got home late and I still couldn't sleep. I was up till like 3 or 4 because I was just thinking about that. And you said something at the end of the movie where you're like, I kind of felt sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
The end of the movie is one of those movies that it hits you and it's done so well. It's not one of those movies where you like get up and cheer and you're like, yeah. No. Like you're sitting there with a weight kind of on your shoulders and on your chest to be like, man, that was something. Because like you said, with the sound design and how they film certain scenes, you feel like you're in his shoes.
I felt like I was on the team. I accidentally released atom bombs into the world.
It's jokingly, but because kind it's so well done, and it is an experience. This is one of those movies that you can't watch it at home. I mean, you can, but what I'm saying is, if you want the full experience, you have to watch it in a theater because that sound design and that music and everything works so well together to give you those chills or those feelings. Well, it's insane.
I mean, there's an aspect of, and he does it so well, but like there's an aspect of the volume peaking to a point where almost I'm like unbearable.
Yeah.
And it's on purpose. Like it's almost like a 4D experience. Yeah. You know, when they talk about smell-o-vision and tickling your feet and stuff when things happen, right? But that's a different way of doing it, right? Kind of just, and it's so loud that it's like almost like taking over your senses. Yeah.
Or certain things like they have one of the tracks has like this hammer that's hitting stuff, right? And so the strings are going and then it's like going ding, ding, ding. And it just keeps going. And it's little things like that I'm pounding, like, that any other sound wouldn't do the same thing. Or they do something with the strings where it's like dun, 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 dun. Like certain things in the soundtrack, which is incredible, that kind of puts you on edge. Even the sound of the people stomping on the bleachers. Like, and it starts ramping up. Pop, 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 and it'll just stop.
It's like anxiety inducing.
Yes, it's incredible, and it's all on purpose, and it's thought out, and it's not something you're like, oh, that's annoying. It's like, no, it really works really well with the soundtrack and the movie. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think this movie could have easily gone the way of like, what a triumph for science and what a triumph for America. Which I'm a patriot. You know what I'm saying. But but it didn't shy away from like, he's not a really great guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he's flawed. We've talked about he's a womanizer. You don't get the sense that him and his wife are very happy. You know what I mean? No, it's almost depressing to see them interact with their kids. You know what I mean? Like you get like almost like an icky feeling
when,
of like
when they had the kid early and they're like, hey, can you just take him for a while? Yikes.
So it's brutal. It's not like I don't think it's a shining like, wow, Oppenheimer, what a great guy.
No, it doesn't make him out to be a hero.
And I think that's good. I mean, I don't know that guy, right? So from what they're showing, like a brilliant mind, egotistical, super genius, created this like crazy thing, this crazy scientific breakthrough, and then he wrestles with that. But yeah, he's not painted in a light of like a knight in shining armor that's finished the war. They almost play with that idea of like that's what he's telling himself, that's what he's doing, it's for the greater good, and then he has to wrestle with that for the rest of his life of like, oh, I've let the genie out of the bottle, essentially. Right. And it goes back to that conversation that he has that we see the conversation with Einstein at the end where he's like, You have to deal with the consequences now. And that's where it leaves you, which is like you guys said, kind of a depressing place to stay, but it's really effective. And I just appreciated that he didn't really shy away from playing with that idea. I could see, this being a very different movie done by if another director does this movie, it's completely different tone.
It would be a much lesser of a movie.
Can you imagine Michael Bay doing this movie? Oh, baby.
Well, even what you're saying, what I to piggyback on what you're saying is, it shows him as flawed. So it's not like painting him as like the protagonist, like he's perfect in any way. But what's really interesting is I felt sorry for him in a ton of moments. And I felt, even though like even Kitty, who's his wife, there's scenes, where she's drunk and she's like, the baby's crying, and he's like, aren't you gonna, and she's like, that's what I've been hearing all day, and she just walks off. And so there's those moments where you're like, that's shame on her kind of thing. But then you really feel bad for her. Like the way it's done. And this is I really like the scene in the gym. I think that's one of my favorite scenes. But the scene where she is interviewed in front of the people, I think that's my favorite scene of the movie. The music, like they're waiting for her to come, and he's like, his lawyer thinks that, she's an alcoholic, we shouldn't be doing this, and he's like, she'll come, right? And then he says the line, he's like, Kitty and I have been through fire together, right? And you do see this aspect of like, their marriage was a mess, like they had some stuff, but they made it through all that kind of stuff. And the scene that she has in there, the violin kind of starts, and then as she starts kind of just pummeling this guy as he's grilling her, and she's just like clever and smart, and how it just builds. I love that scene. And so there's just so many good things in this movie that you never really cheer for somebody, as far as like, you never approve of what they've done, but you do empathize with them. And the scene at the end when Einstein says, they'll serve you salmon and caviar, and you'll get awards and you'll get medals. And then he's like, and they'll shake your hand and pat you on the back, but it's all for them. Yeah. It's not for you. And then that one scientist puts his hand out and Kitty doesn't shake his hand. And it's at that moment where the soundtrack changes to the, and then you start hearing the intense, it's like building. I want to
hear you do more of the soundtrack sounds.
It's so, and then go watch it. You can go watch it, and it builds like, it's just so, you empathize with them, and it's really smart. I think movies nowadays, you have a hard time connecting with people because a lot of times they're either flawed to the point where it's like you can't approve of anything they've done, or they're like super perfect and you can't relate to it. This movie does a really good job of presenting humans as humans, and with their flaws, with their victories, and you're able to empathize with that kind of stuff. And it feels real. And I think it makes it easier for us to watch it and be like, man, I get how that feels. I get how that would be difficult. It's just really well done.
Yeah, well, and the best war movies out there are the movies that don't stray away from telling the ugly side of war, how terrible and terrifying it is. And it definitely was that same thing in this movie. It was just a much more personal story in a way that I hadn't really seen in a war movie before. Because, that's how it really was. And I think that war movies do a disservice of kind of glorifying or, straying away from really telling the ugly side of things. So I really appreciated about this movie is that it really did not pull any punches with that. Like, it just felt terrible.
Yeah.
In the best of ways.
That's an interesting thing. I didn't really think about that. You just called it a war movie. And for me, I actually didn't feel like it was a war movie. I mean, obviously it is, right? Because it's about an atom bomb and a war, right?
Yeah.
but it didn't feel like that because I feel like Christopher Nolan kind of really respected the viewer to know what was going on. Like he would hint towards things, but we never saw, did we see any war combat?
We saw the planes.
Just a little bit of plane.
Right. Yeah. He talks about the V rocket.
Oh,
the V rocket
did we actually? Yeah, we just saw a little bit at the beginning. Right?
Yeah, we don't see any
I think in the traditional sense of like your Saving Private Ryan's, like those type of movies, those get like such a big label of like, oh, that's what a war movie is. But even in times of war, people like Oppenheimer, they are, and other people who are on stateside, they are still like serving their country in a different way.
Oh, for sure.
Which still makes it, that type of.
Yeah, it's a movie about a war. I wouldn't call it a war movie directly, but it was interesting because when you said that, I was like, they talked about stuff. They could have. Here's the thing, and I was talking to Brie about this a little bit, and I was like, they could have shown, some of the attacks that the Japanese did to maybe let you empathize a little bit and be like, you know what, it was justified, but he never did.
Yeah.
And I think that was on purpose because he was balancing this morality scale when you're considering what they're doing and how Oppenheimer was feeling. Because they're like, oh, yeah, we think it's going to kill like 70,000. Did you know it ended up killing more than 200,000? Oh, we didn't really realize that. Oh, we didn't calculate the fallout.
Yeah.
Like all these like, oh, yeah, it's 150. Now it's 220. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
But they could have shown how it could be justified. You know what I mean? Like even when they had the meeting with Truman, I think it was with the president,
Gary Oldman.
Yeah. That was an interesting one too. Cause you could feel the intensity and kind of like the depth of those kinds of decisions. He's like, oh, he thought it was about him. It was me. I'm the one who dropped the bomb on it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
get this crybaby out of here.
And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait, you wanted that? Or like, you know what I mean? Like the sense of that.
Yeah. There is one line in there that that kind of goes towards that when they say like Japan would never surrender. Like
right.
They would, because that's what the case
That's what they're saying. Yeah.
The Japanese were not, they weren't surrendering. They were doing suicide bombing. They were,
but they never said that.
Right. And so in the movie, they say that, when they're all together and they're like trying to figure out what cities to bomb, one of the guys says that he's like,
what?
No, I just
he says
the guy says
they'll never surrender. We're doing this because we need to force them to do it. Right. And then the guy says thing like, oh, we vacationed. We honeymooned.
See, that's
like it's important to the history. Plus, my wife and I vacationed honeymoon there.
And people
that's a
laughed.
wonderful city.
And people laughed in the theater. That's like the one time people laughed. But to me, that was like chilling. And that's what was so interesting because people laughed legitimately.
But I think people were laughing because it was uncomfortable.
That's what the guy next to us said a swear word like when he heard that. Ooh. But like they laughed, laughed like, oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah, it's the uncomfortable.
That's where that guy's priorities are.
But that's the aspect I'm trying to convey is this balancing act that he did in this movie. Where you're right on that line and you feel how Oppenheimer felt, right? At that point, he was like, this is wrong. And they're laughing, or they're talking about their vacation spots. Like, what the heck, Anyway, I thought it was a really good balance of movie.
Yeah.
For what it was.
Even just like the conversations that they ask him where they're like, well, how did you pick these ones or pick the cities? And he's like, well, we picked them for maximum effectiveness from a scientific point. Like I did my job of a scientist to say, this city is big enough. This one's not big enough. It'd be a waste to use it there. Right. And they're like kind of putting it on him of like, oh, so you picked these because you wanted to do the most damage.
And that was the interview.
Right. Yeah, and he's like, I was asked as a scientist, scientifically speaking, how does it work? So he kind of has to compartmentalize that, but it doesn't work for him because even later you see that scene where they're showing them this is how effective the bomb was. Yeah. And they're like, this is 2 weeks after. And he's like, not even looking.
And they don't show the audience either.
Yep. Yeah.
You're just seeing his reaction,
and they're just saying numbers,
and the people
you're hearing
around.
people gasping, like going, like when they're seeing the pictures. That was interesting too. There's we talked about this person, but Grace Randolph posted a review.
John's favorite,
and she was like, it's filmmaking 101. Like, he should have followed another character because Oppenheimer's so unlikable. So it should have had a different character that you're following. Filmmaking 101. And then she's like, they should have shown the bombs dropping and like people getting killed.
No.
And all the stuff she's saying is like, you don't know what you're talking
she missed
about.
The point.
I'm not going to listen to Christopher Nolan on this one.
This whole movie, like we're talking about, is like less is more. Like the fact that you don't see those things, and it's more about you're seeing in the characters. Like one of the really great scenes is they ship off the bomb, and then they're like, well, I'll let you know. I'll keep you informed. And then he's just like pacing and wondering like, did they drop? Like, did it work? What the heck? Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's the whole point of you not seeing it happen. So that you're in that position to be like,
I thought
look at this guy.
I thought it was funny when he was like, you need to drop it. Like you need to make it explode at this height. And they're like, we'll worry about that. Okay. And he was like, and then they took the bomb. Yeah.
The movie is very much from his point of view.
Exactly.
So showing things that he necessarily wouldn't have seen, like narratively, doesn't really make that much sense. You get that impact just by
and maybe that's
Cillian
why we saw the nudity, because it was from his perspective.
Yeah.
We had to all see it to understand what he was seeing.
Honestly, that probably Christopher Nolan probably would justify with that. I actually.
See, I'm on favor of it. 10 out of 10.
Oh gosh. How was what's his name? Strauss?
Yeah.
Oh, Robert Downey
Jr.'s
so
character. How'd you guys feel about that kind of storyline? With him kind of being a bad guy.
He was definitely more the antagonist.
Yeah. He definitely was.
Yeah.
I liked how it switched. At first, they even do the scene.
That's how Oppenheimer.
They even do the scene where he talks about it, and he's there's the part where Oppenheimer embarrasses him, right? And when he's talking about it, he's like laughing, right? And then later on in the movie, you see his actual reaction.
They frame it differently, and they like blur out, and he's all like troubled.
Yeah,
his reaction is different.
I thought that was really cool. Nolan tends to have kind of like not a twist at the end, but kind of that moment where you kind of
reveal.
You see the reality. And I just thought that was a really cool way to do it. Cause I wasn't expecting that. I was like, how are they going to do this? Yeah. What's the buildup going to be? And I thought that worked really well. Part of the reason it works so good is because Robert Downey Jr. is really good as that character. You kind of hate him. You kind of are like, dude, what are you doing?
At the end, when he starts unraveling, dude, amazing job, dude.
Yes.
Amazing. His fangs got out. His true colors showed. It was awesome. What a good job he did. Wow. But yeah, so there was kind of that section of like hearings and interviews, and then the hearing, like there's a lot of like court stuff happening at the end. I could see some people maybe complain a little bit about that, how kind of it felt maybe not convoluted fully, but maybe like semi-convoluted a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
And then you have that random, I don't even know that guy, but he looks super familiar. The guy has big eyes and glasses, and he kind of like,
Malik.
Yes, that guy. He kind of like just speaks up, and he's like sticks it to him, and speaks up for Oppenheimer. And there's a lot of stars in this movie. It's crazy. But yeah, how'd you guys feel about that time frame, that part of the story?
I think that was the point in the movie where I had probably the most rough time.
Okay. And that would be the moment where it kind of dragged on a little bit.
Yeah, and again, it's like I don't know if it's just because it was so late. Like,
right. I mean, at that time, it's like almost midnight at that point,
past midnight.
Yeah. So, but just in terms of like where it is in the story, that's after the bomb. That's after all of that stuff. So it definitely felt more like kind of an epilogue.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But it definitely wasn't bad. It was like a lot of good information just dump basically, and seeing a lot from his perspective was really interesting.
I could see justification on maybe people not really liking that as much.
I could go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's where it dragged a little bit for me. Like after the bomb,
So you guys felt kind of similar.
I think that's where I was like, up to that point, I was like, man, this thing is flying, and I'm super into it. And then I was like, oh, and it's probably because I'm ignorant of that part of history. I guess I didn't know that those hearings went on and that kind of stuff. So the way I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that to be part of the story. So I think that's probably part of it also. But because even though it dragged on, I still really enjoyed everything that they were doing, the way they framed it, the kind of back and forth, the kind of reveal of, at that point you're like, oh, you kind of maybe have an idea that someone gave the file to Polka Dot Man, whatever his name is. Yeah. And then the reveal that, you're like, oh yeah, he's been doing this the whole time. And then kind of, framing him in that he's the villain, or the antagonist in this case. He's the one that's basically causing Oppenheimer to go through all this stuff, was really interesting. But I did think you could probably trim a few things here and there. Maybe upon rewatch, now that I'm expecting it, it'll be different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did feel it dragged a little bit.
I had the opposite. I thought I was invested in that. I don't know why.
Yeah. Wow.
But I thought that was probably one of my favorite parts of the movie, because I felt like throughout the whole thing, you don't really have a villain. It's kind of just this whole thing. And then as you start seeing like, oh, this guy basically screwed him over, I was invested in to be like, okay, how's this going to wrap up? Because I didn't know what was going to happen. And then that's juxtaposed with Kitty, which Emily Blunt is awesome in this movie.
Yeah, she did
and
really
I
good.
really liked her character. And she keeps telling Oppenheimer, fight.
back.
You got to fight back. You got to fight back. And he just kind of just sinks back every time she says that. And so that was kind of getting me to be like, yeah, what the heck? Fight back, dude. And that's the other thing too. I didn't know, again, because I'm not a huge history buff, but I didn't know if Oppenheimer was still alive at that point. Does that make sense? Because the black and white stuff, you really never see Oppenheimer in the black and white when they're doing the trial. So I was like, because even Robert Downey Jr.'s character is like, would you guys know what happened to him? Like, as if and for me, I was like, well, was he dead? Did he die? Like, so I didn't know those answers, and I wanted to see how this was going to work out. And I wanted to see that guy get his comeuppance. I was really invested in that aspect of it. So to me, that was part of my favorite part, because I was starting to reveal stuff little by little. And I was like, okay, now I'm getting answers. This whole movie, I've been going back and forth between just perspectives. And now I'm actually getting like some reveals on who the bad guy is, what he's been doing. And when that one character comes in, that scientist, and he totally flips the script on him, and they're like, he'll be with us, right? And then he starts saying like, no, this guy screwed over Oppenheimer. That I was like, for me, that was like a cheer moment. I wanted to be like, yeah.
It was definitely a very satisfying
it was great.
Part of the movie. Because basically the entire movie, Oppenheimer's just getting dumped on, beat up throughout. And finally seeing like somewhat of a victory for him was nice. So
yeah, that was my perspective on that ending part. I was invested because I wanted to see how it played out.
I think, you brought up an interesting point. You said, oh, I wanted to know, was he alive back then? So you looked something up about history. I did the same thing. I wanted to know, what did happen with the hydrogen bomb? We did make those, right? Oh, yeah. And so I looked up the history of bombs and like where we're at currently. And I think that was honestly like a highlight of the movie, that like it made you think. Yeah. And you're like, oh, this applies to your actual real life and the world today. And so that was cool, because I was like, yeah, how big was that compared to what we make today?
Yeah.
Oh, holy crap. Oh, Russia's the one who's made the biggest. Oh, that's problematic. And then you look up, well, how many nuclear warheads do the United States have? Oh, thousands. That's crazy. So like, I think that's like another cool thing about the movie, is that it makes you think.
Yeah.
And it expanded more than the theater. The next day that night I looked it up. Yeah. I was like, What happened with those?
Yeah,
actors?
nuclear war. Here we come, baby.
Last thing I'll say about the movie is I was thinking about this after in the days following, and I don't think there's another director that's able to make movies nowadays that kind of stick with you the way Nolan does. And I think, like Mick said,
I know why.
Zack Snyder,
I know why.
Mick said even before.
Zack Snyder's pissed.
Like Mick said before, there's something about Nolan and the way he does things, like with very little CGI. It feels lived in. It feels real. Like you said, Corey, he's not treating the audience like dumb people. He's like, no, you'll figure it out. Like, I'm trusting you that even if you have to watch it 2 or 3, 4 times, like, you'll get it. And so it's just the complete opposite of what we've been getting from Marvel, DC, like action movies, the Fast 5 movies, Fast and Furious, all that kind of like the franchises that just kind of seem like just throw entertainment out there, green screen, whatever. Nolan really works on like, I'm going to make a movie that I think that's something I'm interested in. I'm going to make it smart. I'm going to have great actors. We're going to really work on this. And because of that, you leave the movie and you have an experience and you have a feeling about it, and it makes you want to watch it again, and it makes you invested in that movie, as opposed to Indiana Jones, where it's like, will I ever watch that movie ever again? Probably not, because it doesn't have any effect on me. Whereas this movie, I'm like, I'm already wanting to watch it again because I'm like, man, I just need to feel that again. So I think Nolan's the only one that's really doing that now. People might say Tarantino or Scorsese or whatever. Sure. But I just feel like Nolan has kind of a track record of his stuff is on a different level.
And I think it's because he's off social media, guys. I think social media is the worst. No, I'm just joking. But it is.
He says he doesn't even use email.
Yeah. He's only a calls guy.
Sending carrier pigeons.
And
get out of here.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Letters.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he said he says he doesn't use email.
No, I saw that.
He writes a freaking letter
and calls.
No, he has to write letters.
Parchment. He calls.
Sure, all of them.
Parchment.
But that's pretty crazy.
Snail mail. Yeah, and was it Jake or Josh or Drake? Drake and Josh. What was
Josh?
Josh. Josh was in
we
this
don't
movie.
Talk about Drake, bro.
Hey, when I saw the cast, and I was like, that guy. He had 2 scenes. He looked nervous,
dude. I was thinking. I was thinking about me in that position. I'm like, I abort. I messed up. I'm scared. Last thing I'll say is I made fun of you all last year when you were like, did you see who's been announced in the cast of Oppenheimer? And I was like, yeah, bro. When I see it, I know it'll be good. And that's exactly what happened. It was a movie about a dude making a bomb, and it had a bunch of people in it, and it was amazing. There you go.
It was great. Yeah. Wait, was that a compliment or
that was a dig at me? No, it wasn't. I was right. All last year you were telling me, I was like, I'll watch it, it'll be good. And guess what? I watched it and it was good.
No, that's what I was saying. It's like no other director like. Jonah was always like, "Hey, what's the new person?" And I was I trust Christopher Nolan to make a movie.
I see.
That on paper, it sounds like the most boring thing you've ever seen. Like just paint by numbers, like whatever, and it's like always amazing.
Okay, gotcha.
So next time when he's like makes a movie about a train conductor, I don't know, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I love that. It was amazing. The acting was top notch. Don't doubt Christopher Nolan.
Mick, any last words? We lost at our last piece.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he gets some Oscar love this season.
He should. He has to.
He's got to get something.
Too bad there's not going to be any Oscars.
Hey,
This is awesome.
They can still do the Oscars.
They won't.
They'll walk out.
It's just the audience will be.
The actors won't show up, but directors will.
They don't.
Give it to Nolan. Yeah, I hope he does.
Best actor.
Yeah. Let us know what you thought. If you watched Oppenheimer, let us know what your thoughts were. If you haven't, go watch it. I would recommend it in theaters. It's a great experience.
If you're
just close your eyes
old
on
enough, and
it's rated R, so older than 17, and then
is it 17?
Just cover your eyes.
Oh, wow.
Cover your eyes when
stuff
when he starts talking to a woman 20 minutes in. Yeah. We're going to move on.
Yeah, that's time-stamped.
We're going to move on. It's because there was a tweet that was like, no female has a line until 20 minutes in.
Gotcha.
We're going to move on to Secret Invasion.
Highlight of our year.
Okay.
Now it's getting good.
I have nothing good to say about this episode. So I'm going to let them talk about it, and then I'm going to drop an A-bomb on them with all my negative stuff. So only positive right now. We got to get at least 5 minutes of positive
There's
material
only one episode left?
There's only one episode. That's too positive. So the most recent episode, 5, right? There's 6 episodes?
Yep.
So episode 5. What'd you guys think?
Wow, this does not feel like the second to last episode of the season.
Yeah, but at the end he's like, what did he
Put his
say?
eye patch
It's
on.
time to get this.
It's about to finish
started.
this.
I don't know.
I think he said like, it's about to. It's time to finish
He
it.
said we got one episode left.
It just really feels like too little, too late type of thing. Like I've. Wait. We
were gonna start with
positive, bro.
Positives.
Are you out of your scroll last night?
I don't really have anything positive either. I mean,
Josh.
My one positive thing was I did laugh when Rhodey was like, "Where's the president at?" And she was like, "Down there." He's like, "The people just handing out classified information. Get her out of here." I was like, "Okay, yeah, that's kind of funny."
There you go.
Okay, one positive. I did like the scene, the like home invasion scene with the
where they broke into
Fury's
Millie
place.
Clark,
Yeah.
Fury's wife. Those characters,
Man,
I thought that was well done.
Yeah,
Kind of
high bar. Cool. Corey,
Man.
positive?
nope, no positives.
Oh my God. Guys, I thought you would be all over it.
There's got to be a positive somewhere. I think that's a cool effect.
Oh, I have another positive.
It's a cool effect with the healing thing. That's kind of cool looking.
I liked
Got a space
I like
blown
the
off. That was
scene
cool.
where they turn against Gravik.
Oh,
I think that
the
was
rebellion.
That's my
yeah.
negative.
Yeah, I think that was well done. It seemed more like realistic in terms of like this one guy just
I'm gonna
is
stand
really
up.
like losing control.
Okay.
Other people are
Okay.
getting wise to his actions.
Okay, can we go negative now?
I've been waiting.
I think that for me was like they didn't plant anything ahead of time.
There's no foreshadowing or.
Someone like said something like, do you think we should be doing this? And he's like, yeah, I'm the boss. Everyone's just like all the way straight up good for it. And then this guy's all like, hey, we could have killed Fury. You had the chance to kill him. And now all of a sudden it goes from that to full blown mutiny.
Yeah.
That for me felt like it's the second to the last episode. We got to get this plot point going. If they would have maybe planted a seed earlier in the season,
But they've been doing this the whole time.
it should have been. I would have liked that better because all we've seen of Gravik and his men is like, oh, he's the boss. We don't question anything he does, right? And so all of a sudden, for them to go, this one dude to just get like however many people to try and kill Gravik seemed a little far fetched to me.
Right.
Especially just with like the timing of things. I'm like, maybe people would say like, oh, that's you're telling your hand basically. But I feel like it makes it more believable to me that I can see the actual inner working of that instead of like all of a sudden, yeah.
That being said, that one guy though just never really felt like he was comfortable being there. The guy with the like snow hat thing.
Oh, like they depict him as uneasy.
Yeah, he always seemed like unsure of like if he really wanted to be there or not.
Like he was on the fence.
Yeah, but then it's not just him. It's like everyone else.
Right. The one dude that was like yelling at him was the guy.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere.
So full disclosure, I watched this episode after I watched Oppenheimer. So I was on a high.
You watched it that night?
A high quality. I told you I was awake because I couldn't sleep. So I watched it.
Dang.
And it immediately just made me upset because I was like, when you have something that's so high quality, and then you have the thing that drives me crazy about this episode.
Totally different.
This season, though, is what you just said. People change their motivations on a dime. Like they do one thing and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we're going to do this other thing. Like the Skrulls, they're all part of this whole thing. And then it's like, now we don't like it. So we're going to do a mutiny. The Gravik they want to kill the president and make him believe it's the Russians. Well, Rhodey can still kill him in the hospital. And he's like, no, don't do it. And Rhodey's like, why not? He's like, well, now I want you to show him, like, I want you to bomb the play. Like, why did that happen? Like, why would you change? Like, that's just ridiculous because your plan is still in place. So it's just that kind of motivations that switch, people changing, like Fury all the time. Like, he's upset with Talos, whatever. They're friends. Then he gets angry. They leave. And then the next episode he's back. And then like that kind of stuff was just like, you're just trying to make fake drama that is not written well. The other thing that I thought was written very poorly and didn't make any sense is, and they shoot these scenes back to back. So Nick Fury wants to show people that Rhodey is a Skrull, right? So he pulls the gun on him at the hospital. And Rhodey's like, in 60 seconds, everyone's going to be looking for you. Well, no, because if you prove Rhodey's a Skrull, then they know that you're framed, right? All he has to do is shoot Rhodey, and he turns into a Skrull, and he's like, he was a Skrull. You just neutralized the threat to the president. And he doesn't. He decides to just leave him there to do whatever he wants. And the very next scene is that MacGuffin lady that works for the M6 or MI6 or whatever. And she goes into that room with the guy, and the guys pull the gun on her, and she shoots the guy in the hand, and he turns into a Skrull. And so they're all like, oh, he's a Skrull. I was like, that's what Fury should have done. And you just did the exact same scene. So it just doesn't make any sense to me to leave Rhodey. And then last thing I'll say, and then I'll let you guys talk. The end of the episode, this lady again is like, why don't you call the Avengers? Yeah. And the reason for him not calling the Avengers is because he wants to prove that his mother raised him and for the love of his wife. I'm like, that's the dumbest reason. You're going to let the whole world be invaded because you want to prove that your mother raised you right and that you love your wife, who's a Skrull. That was just dumb to me.
And he even said, and if I can't stop him, then we're screwed. Like, he said that.
Yeah. It's just stupid to me. It's like, that's not, what a dumb thing, because you don't want to use the Avengers.
Or can't, you mean?
You can't. So you're going to just be like, Nick Fury just wants to do it by himself. It's just dumb and pointless and poorly written.
Yeah, that I think that was like the low light of the episode of him being like, yeah, I'm not going to call him. I'm like, probably should call one of them.
You should have called him in the first episode.
But yeah, so yeah, not a whole lot. Also, I always wonder why they don't do like, so that scene where the guy has the girl with the gun to the head and the MI6 lady's like, she's like, I'm going to shoot her. And then she shoots him in the head. I'm like, she pointed the gun at you. Shoot the person.
Yeah.
Look,
guys, what's going on here?
Guys,
That's the whole point of that position you're in.
If they point
the gun at you, you shoot the person.
Yeah.
But I guess not. He wasn't quick enough.
I mean, this episode wasn't any surprise, right? They've been doing this the whole time. It's short-sighted writing where they're like doing little stints. They're not thinking of the whole story as one solid arc. That's kind of the biggest thing that just throws me for a loop, is how short-sighted everything is, and how like fall flat a lot of these big moments that are supposed to be, like when Talos or whatever his name is got shot.
Yeah,
it's like it's supposed to be this like crazy huge thing. I'm just like, I don't
care.
And then the funeral, you're like, okay,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there's no heart in this at all. It feels like it was written by AI, even though I don't think it was.
Maybe they did the opening and the
I'm gonna be honest.
Script also.
I hope it was, because man, whoever wrote it writes like an AI.
This is what I thought, and I feel bad for this. After I got done watching it, and I'm all for the strike, but I was like, you know what? Writers don't deserve to get paid more if this is the kind of stuff they're going to write. Like, seriously. Like, they're wanting more money to do this kind of stuff? That's what I thought. And I know that's bad. I know that's not, I should, like, sure, they should get more money. But I'm like, why are they striking? If this is the kind of stuff that we're getting, then they don't deserve more money.
But here's the thing. You don't need to watch. You watch this because we hold a gun to your head every week. You know what I'm saying?
No one's holding the gun to my head.
But I'm like, you don't enjoy Marvel things.
But what I'm saying in general, like, if I can go back and be like, Indiana Jones, that wasn't well written. Like, if you go back and see things, The Flash, that wasn't well written. Like,
yeah, but you might have watched.
That's what I'm saying.
But.
Like,
maybe the studios should let these guys
flunk.
Actually work on their actually shoot their scripts.
That was my first thought when I finished watching this. I was like, you know what? They don't deserve to get paid more.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Write better.
I would say that everyone writes differently, and there's people out there that really like this. Some.
I've seen a lot of people that are normally like, or actually, it's more of the same. They're like, it happens every time with these Marvel shows. It's like you're into it, 3 episodes in, and then that last half, you're just like, what are we doing?
I mean, yeah. I'm interested to see what happens in this last episode because it's gonna show a lot of their cards. Because I think personally they needed to get to some end results to move on to the next movie or whatever. And I think that it's going to be like, oh, that's why they're like shoehorning all this stuff because they needed to get X, Y, and Z done by the end of it. It's like, it's going to feel forced like everything else has.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to realize I'm like, okay.
I feel like it's going to be a nothing burger. I feel like Gravik's going to get killed by
Gaia.
Mm-hmm. Fury's going to get shot or something, but survive or be injured and survive. And then it's going to be like the Skrulls are going to be like, well, they turned against, they're already saying they're turning against Gravik. So then there's going to be like, well, we know you're on Earth, but we're going to give you guys a plot of land somewhere, and you're going to start. They're just going to, it's going to be like nothing huge. It's just going to be like nothing really happened. Like there was a little revolt here, Gravik's dead.
There's going to be some resolution with the Skrull situation and Gaia.
And it's just going to be like, she might start being the leader now, and she's going to go and they're going to have like new Skrillex.
Yeah, Skrillex is going to be a Skrull for sure. They're going to shoot him in the leg. And,
but I feel it's just going to be like a big letdown.
Yeah. The show as a whole has just felt like kind of just buying time for the next project to come out with like no like clear like end goal in sight.
And this is what I'll say that I was going to say before the podcast. I said I save it. This show is twice the budget of Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer cost $100 million to make. This show is $220 million to make, and it drives me insane because I'm like, what cost that much? What cost that much? Because people could say
Skrull transformations.
In Oppenheimer, it's just conversations. I was like, this show has just conversations.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not like there's a ton of action stuff.
Yeah, lots of CGI.
But still. Like $220 million for that garbage we're getting?
That AI intro was pretty expensive.
Yeah, that's probably
pretty expensive.
Budget.
It's insane to me.
And I didn't even really talk about any of the bad things at all. Just know that I've got $1 million. I don't think we really need to get into it. I'll just mention one thing that just bugged the crap out of me was the whole combat sequence. I was just like, this is so dumb. I hate this.
Oh, with a bag over his head?
Oh, you know what? It was last episode with the president and the fight. My bad. I wasn't here last week. Sorry about that. Sorry. Because I watched them at the same time. Sorry.
We talked about that too, where it's like, what side are they on? Like, how can these people just walk across the confrontation line? It was so dumb. I'm over here now.
They weren't taking cover. It was so stupid. I couldn't even believe it.
Well, and then...
Sorry, that was last episode.
What was dumb too was Gravik, right? The scene before, he uses his extendo arm to kill the dude.
His Groot arm.
Right? And then when he's fighting the dude.
Oh, yeah. This episode.
You know, like they got him from behind. The guys are in front.
He hit him and he survived.
Why don't you use your extendo
They were
arm?
obstructing his airway. He couldn't focus.
He should auto kill. At that point, he actually...
You're welcome.
At that point, he didn't have the sack over his head. the bag over his head. He just didn't kill the guy.
Yeah, and so I was like, you can't.
It was stupid.
That drives me crazy. When they do one thing, a scene before,
He's
and
new to
then
the
they
power.
forget they do that.
Yeah,
Ant-Man
exactly.
does
He had
that.
to recharge.
Ant-Man and Quantumania, like Kang the Conqueror is like instant vaporizing people throughout the beginning of that movie, and then he never uses it again when he's like, or he's stopping people and controlling them in midair, and then he's like, Ant-Man's running and he has to stop him. He's like, bring him down. I was like, you can freeze him.
Out of range.
There's a range. There's a range. Only gamers know
Insane
that.
to me.
Yeah, bro.
So dumb.
There was
Not a
actually a
game.
bag on his head at that point. It just didn't show.
Anyways,
yeah.
Yeah, one episode left.
I think they're going to. Do you think they'll stick the landing?
No.
They haven't even taken off the ground yet.
Yo, watch them just blow your mind in this last episode.
The other thing that's weird to me is that you have a show where you're like, potentially, is Nick Fury, like, what's going to happen to Nick Fury? And then you release a trailer for the Marvels and you're like, Nick Fury's in it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We don't know
okay.
when that takes place, though.
Or if that's a scroll.
Oh, you
Or
know,
the cat.
now I'm interested in watch the Marvels.
So dumb.
But yeah, right. I'm right there with you for sure.
All right, one episode to go, baby.
Yep.
I will say, because I missed last week, I was like, I have to watch 2 of these. Frick.
And it felt bad, didn't it?
And I thought about not doing it. I was like, they'll be fine. I'm sure they can think of all the bad things that they, that
Hey,
they
we
didn't
appreciate
like.
your commitment, bro.
But I watched it.
If you liked this episode, let us know in the comments. We won't yell at you. We'll just, you might be
won't
smarter. You
yell
might
at
be
you.
smarter than us. But let us know what
that's
you thought.
separate. Those are 2 separate things. Yes, you're probably
Yeah.
smarter than us, but no, we probably all agree on this.
But let us know what you thought. Is there anything else, you guys? Or are we good?
Yeah.
For Spider-Man 2, the video game, they released more just info about it and released a kind of more of a story trailer, showing like Harry Osborn finally and getting our first shot of actual Venom. And there's a lot of contemplation if Venom is going to be actually a playable character or not, which could be cool, could be interesting. But
When does that come out?
October
Oh, it's pretty
20th.
soon. Pretty soon.
Yeah.
There's rumors of Switch 2.
Oh, I was going to
Being
say,
in the works.
well, that is in the works. We all know that because developers have leaked it. But the graphics power is going to be comparable to what a PS5 is. So it's not a next gen, it's a current gen, basically,
Right. So
situation.
next gen for
Bro,
the
the
Switch,
next gen for Nintendo.
Yeah, next
bro.
gen for Nintendo.
Guys,
It's a big jump.
And at that point,
They don't get a crutch, guys, okay? We compare them to everything else.
sure we do.
No.
Yeah.
Why? What gives them?
I've got my Nintendo Crest right here, bro.
No. Like, we know that they make great games,
yeah.
right? And the game is for mobility and access for everyone. But you have to be honest to the people about the power of it.
Of course.
It's going to be around PS5, which is awesome. Why can't we celebrate in that?
Yeah, we are
And we're
celebrating.
But it's not next gen.
I know.
I mean, at this point, it's like, I don't even notice the difference in graphics now. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Between Switch and
After
PS5?
PS3, you know, it's all the same.
Yeah, bro.
Get out of here.
When you're playing Stardew
Oh my
Valley
gosh.
on Switch or PS5, it's
That's a
the
good
same.
point.
Nah, bro.
Actually,
you get like 120 frames,
that's a
bro.
good point, bro.
It's
But it's
crisp.
minuscule. It's
You
minuscule.
get 30 frames.
I mean,
on
I still
Nintendo.
harvest my strawberries one at a time.
I probably harvest it faster. Yeah, no, I'm just joking.
I still wake up every morning, say hello to my wife, get on my horse, and ride to the mine.
Your wife. Did you guys hear the rumor about Sam Raimi and
doing Spider-Man 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear about that rumor?
I just saw that.
And maybe
what's that guy's
Tobey
name?
Maguire.
Sandman,
Yeah.
something Taylor.
Thomas Hayden.
And, and did you hear the other rumor with what's his face? Your
Gryffindor.
favorite?
Garfield.
Garfield.
Yeah, but they
I don't
said
know about that one, though.
They said that one doesn't seem to be going anywhere, but
Yeah.
they're saying Raimi is going to be doing Spider-Man 4 with Toby.
I was surprised you didn't see that, Mick.
Your favorite Spider-Man?
Right up your alley, buddy.
I mean, that's always like a rumor that had been floating around, and then especially after No Way Home.
Yeah.
So if they do it, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'd be down.
Spider-Man 3 was so bad.
True, but he's changed.
Yeah.
How many years has it been, bro?
That's old style.
Everyone, we learn. We learn and we grow. Right, Jonah?
Spider-Man 3 left such a bad taste in my mouth that I don't know if I want a fourth.
But 1 and 2 are super good. And there are some good things in 3.
What?
Name one.
I mean, one thing that's good in Spider-Man 3.
Oh, man.
A lot
Dig on this.
The pie scene.
Yeah,
That is that's my favorite gift.
So good.
So good.
I would say there's nothing good in Spider-Man 3.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
Oh, and then Harry, your father. I cleaned his wounds. It was self-inflicted, Harry. Best actor in
Couldn't
that
have
whole
told
movie.
him that the day of,
Yeah.
bro.
No, he didn't want to hurt his.
Yeah, nothing good about that movie.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Sorry, real quick. Jonah?
Peter? How do you see him? He's in the clock tower. There's no way you can see him.
Secret Invasion or Spider-Man 3? What are you watching?
Spider-Man 3.
Oh, Spider-Man 3. Because I at least can laugh at how bad it is.
Exactly.
Not to go
Point proven.
Okay, so the good thing about Spider-Man 3 is that
Point
it's
proven.
laughable and enjoyable.
Yeah. You can have fun with it. I mean, it's like the cool dancing. Cool. That's crazy that I said that. I'm sure his makeup that he wore during that inspired millions of people, millions of emos.
That movie is insane to me. When I rewatch it, I'm like, how did
there's
they
a lot
think
of
this
scenes.
was good?
What a crazy interpretation of the symbiote like attitude change. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not picking on you, bro.
He's like looking down like we like
Okay.
heard him.
That's all right, bro.
I'm good. I'm fine here, guys. I'm used to it.
Mick, I enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot when I first watched it. I haven't.
I remember.
I've watched
we
it
went
maybe
midnight,
twice,
bro.
though.
I remember.
One
Village
good
Center.
thing.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Sandman with his daughter.
Sandman was the best villain in the movie.
There you go. Boom. Dig on
There are
that.
4 of them.
And the scene where he actually explains what happened.
The scene when he becomes Sandman is really good. That's really well done.
So one good thing in Spider-Man 3 is Sandman stuff.
Oh,
It's settled.
I have something to report. You guys talking about Nintendo?
That's just soon.
So me and Jovi and James and Tina, we're going to go to PAX, the gaming
PAX
expo
Prime?
in Seattle.
Nice.
When?
That'll be the first weekend of September.
Maybe we'll do a meet and greet. You guys, Nerd Age fans that are in Seattle, can meet Corey and he'll sign your merch.
Hey, we got a booth there?
Yeah, sign your merch.
Yeah.
What merch?
Print off the Nerd Age logo.
Okay, well,
We're at least doing a panel, right?
okay, here it is. I will throw this out. If there's anyone who listens to the podcast and finds me at PAX, I will give you my sweatshirt that has the Nerd Age on it.
There you go.
If there, it's an impossibility. You know what I mean? Like that's not gonna
I'm gonna
happen.
text
I have
Joey.
friends in Seattle. Joey has family in Seattle.
Yeah, he does, but none of them know how to drive. No, I'm just joking.
None of them listen to the podcast.
But well, sorry, what my point was, you brought up Nintendo. So when you sign up for PAX Prime, you get tickets. You can opt in to be chosen randomly to be involved in some kind of events. So one is called an Omegathon, where you publicly compete against random people on random games on stage in a big theater.
Mega Man.
So that's one thing. And then the other thing is Nintendo is going to be there, but they're going to do some kind of Nintendo event, and we got chosen for that.
Nice.
So I don't know if it's like a competition, if it's going to be a competition thing publicly or what it's going to be. I'm not sure.
You're going to get the Switch too, bro. They're going to give it to you.
Yeah. And I'll give it to you, man.
Yeah. Hey.
So you can catch up. But anyway, I don't know what it's really going to look like, but I'll have something to report on at least and talk about.
Nice.
After PAX.
When is that again?
I just said, why don't you listen?
I'm having people say.
Oh yeah, for all the listeners
That's what
out
I'm
there.
saying.
The first weekend of September.
First weekend of September.
So I think it's Labor Day weekend.
Yep.
Find Corey.
So
get his sweatshirt
first through
off his
third.
back.
I will be there Friday through Sunday.
For those of you that listen on Spotify, you can find our YouTube page, see what Corey looks like, so you can find him.
ID me.
That would be a good place to start.
Yep.
He's the one wearing glasses.
That's the one out of all the nerds. That's right. That's right. Anyway, something to look forward to. I'm excited about it.
Nice.
It's gonna be fun.
Cool. Well, I think that's it.
That'll do.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will be back next week with the finale of Secret Invasion.
Baby.
And then whatever else comes out. So yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, which is now X. X gonna give it to you.
Wow.
See you next week.
See ya.
Bye.